The time is 2 o'clock. Evan, I'm glad to see you are here. I was afraid you weren't going to make it. So we have a quorum. I was concerned. So welcome to this workshop for the Manti LaSalle National Forest Draft Plan. Council members that are present are Greg Halliday, Evan Clapper, Gabriel Wojtek, Mary McGann. Our staff that is present is Chris Baird, and our clerk auditor, Quinn Hall, is with us at this time. We also have a number of public members. Welcome. So for this workshop, it is an opportunity for the Grand County Commission to gather information as to thoughts, desires, outcomes that various members of our staff and members of the public wish to express. So I'm going to run this meeting somewhat like a public hearing, unless I hear something from the council that they'd prefer to do it other ways. Okay, we were going to have Kyle from the Forest Service, who is working on the draft plan. Are you with us, Kyle? Chris, do you know if he's with us?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, Kyle, I thought it would be nice to start with you, and then we will go to people from the public and members of our staff, the county staff. But I'd like to have you start by kind of giving us a brief history and the path forward for the draft plan and what would be beneficial for the county to contribute, or how to contribute. Is that clear?
It is. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you're on the screen now. Thank you.
Am I? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle Beagley. I've been the project lead on the forest plan for about a year now. And let's see where we are right now. And many of you already likely know this, but we have a draft plan that we have put on our website for the public to take a look at and review. There has been a little bit of confusion because we're not in official scoping period yet. We have not received the green light to publish a notice of intent in the Federal Register, which would begin our official scoping period. However, as a forest, we felt like we were at a point where we did want to engage with the public, share the plan that we do have, and amidst the change in normal operating procedure and the way that we conduct ourselves normally with the COVID situation that we're in, we wanted to put things out there and give the public a little more time to become familiar with them and look through them and consider their thoughts and consider their comments. And also, along with that opportunity to review the documents, we wanted to also provide an early opportunity to submit your comments if you so choose. And so I did some digging in our regulations and consulting with through some higher ranks that I work with, and found that we could give the public that opportunity. So right now we're in an opportunity for public participation. And my hope is that we can transition this opportunity for public participation directly into official scoping. My hope is that we are able to scope come January, February timeframe. So everything's up on our website. Definitely want to invite everyone to go there to look at the documents that are available to review. And we do have a comment link that is there and is available to submit your comments, whether you want to type them, copy and paste them, however you want to submit those comments. But all of that is there on our website. I guess I would add that we do intend to have 5 virtual workshops throughout October, November. All of that information can also be found on our website. I'm hoping that the virtual platform program that we are using will work well. Unfortunately, we're limited to 300 attendees, so I'm curious if we bump into that issue. If we do bump into that, this first meeting that we have on Thursday, then we might have to switch to a different program that allows more people to call in. So that's where we are. Maybe I can just take a quick second and give you a little input on the rest of the process. So where we do have a draft plan and we are going into the scoping period, that's where we do ask the public to take a look at what we have and let us know if we're close to the mark or if we've missed the mark and where. It's most effective for us if comments can be as specific as possible. We understand it's a large document and sometimes it can be hard to be very specific. However, if there's a particular page number that has issues that's of concern, that information is very helpful to us. After official scoping is closed, we do comment analysis, we call it, where we go through every comment we receive and give a response to it. And then go through and determine if there are comments or issues or themes brought up that will drive alternatives as we go through the environmental impact statement process. Once we develop our draft EIS, there's another 90-day comment period where the public has the opportunity to look through all of that and the alternatives we're looking at. We hear from that and develop our draft record of decision. So we anticipate that's going to take us close to another 2 years to reach that mark. We are under some new regulations now that once official scoping does begin, that starts that 2-year time clock. And we are now mandated so far to try and keep our EIS document under 300 pages in length. So some new regulations we're under will bring some new challenges, but we're excited to be where we are at this point and to start moving forward into the next phases as soon as we get that green light for official scoping to begin. But I guess I just would reemphasize that we are welcoming comments now, and we will count those comments similar to the comments we received during that official scoping period when it starts. So I hope that's an okay overview to give everyone, and happy to answer any questions. And I would also say that if people would prefer, I'm not on the call throughout the remainder of discussions. I'm happy to jump off, because the last thing I'd want to do is feel like somebody's being hindered by my presence on the call or anything like that. So I don't feel like anything said is going to offend me by any means. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Curtis Wells has joined us. Thank you, Curtis. You answered one of my questions already. Do we have any questions from the council for Kyle?
I just wanted to, thanks for joining us today, Kyle, for sure. I just wanted to kind of double check that you were saying you would appreciate more specific kind of feedback with like page numbers and like even down to the sentences, because that was kind of one of the things we were going back and forth on before. We had some like really specific feedback from some of our advisory committees to the council, changing specific words, and then we had kind of come into it from a higher level, kind of response from 10,000 feet. And so I hear you saying that the prior, the kind of nitty gritty might be more useful for you guys.
I would say yes. I mean, it always depends on what the concern is and what you're finding that is a concern. But if there are specific words or phrases that are stated, it's very, very helpful for us to point that out to the specific page number, or, you know, if it's a desired condition within the recreation section, something like that, just to point that out and say, are we understanding this right? The way you've worded it gives us this impression and we don't like that. Those types of comments are very helpful.
Okay.
However, if there are more, like you said, at the 10,000 foot level issues, I would just challenge you to spell out, I guess, what the issue is, even if it's at that level, so that we clearly understand the issue that you're trying to address.
Right. And I think a lot of the stuff at that higher level kind of is in alignment. And so I don't know if you know, the effort of this is to kind of make a pitch up the flagpole or whatever, you know, if it's beneficial to have us saying, yes, we agree with these being management priorities, or if you don't necessarily need that kind of feedback.
It is very beneficial, actually, because you never know what comment will come from another group or individual or organization. And I think all of that matters in the bigger picture.
Great. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Evan. I have a question. You'll be getting, when the scoping period comes out and you're getting comments from various organizations and individuals, when you are analyzing those comments, is there any more weight given to, say, a letter from a county or a city as opposed to a letter from an individual?
A letter submitted by a county or community, something like that, a lot of times those are recognized, sometimes under our cooperating agency agreements and those that we have established. I will say that every comment submitted is considered. Those comments that are submitted by cooperating agencies and folks like that are definitely considered. I guess I hesitate to say that one comment is submitted greater than, or considered greater than another. However, I do acknowledge that yes, when comments come from organizations and particularly cooperating agency type folks, they do come with a weight to them, I guess, that would catch our eyes, and we always pay attention, but we do recognize the organization that they come from, in addition to, you know, this came from, you know, if it's a random citizen in Washington State somewhere or something like that. So I guess I would say that, yeah, they do come weighted. We do consider all comments, but those that come from local communities particularly do bear a particular weight to them, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Okay, we may have some later as we go through. If you're, unless you have something place to go, Kyle, I think it would be beneficial to have you on the call in case somebody's questions spurs a question, somebody's comment spurs a question from the council commission.
Okay, I'm happy to stay on.
Okay, now, Curtis, you weren't on when I talked about that I was going to run this somewhat like a public hearing. giving people 3 minutes to asking them to keep their comments around 3 minutes, and that we will go through and hear from the public, and then we will have a discussion as a council afterwards of how we want to move forward. Does that sound okay to you? Okay, thank you. I guess if you're on the call and you have the ability to have your face shown and to raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment, I'd appreciate that. Is there anyone in the public who would like to talk at this moment?
Hey, Mary, this is Kaya. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi Kaya.
Do I need to show my face?
No, I just needed to know who was talking so we could get it on the minutes. And so introduce yourself, first name, second name.
Yeah, Kaya Marienfeld. I'm a wildlands attorney with the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance. I did email some comments related to today's workshop, how in the packet. So I just wanted to confirm that you all had received those. I got an email from Tara saying that they would be forwarded to commission members individually, but I wanted to confirm that that had happened.
I got it, yes.
Great. Those are my comments, maps included. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now about that, but otherwise I think it's all laid out in the email. So
Thank you, Kaya.
okay, thanks, Mary.
Anyone else like to talk at this time? Mary O'Brien.
Hi, Mary. I'm Mary O'Brien with Grand Canyon Trust, the Utah Forest Program Director, and just want to express appreciation to Kyle, who has been very responsive, and his team to questions we've had. As you know, there's a conservation alternative that we've sent you. And one thing that may not be clear from Kyle's introduction is that this scoping period is designed under NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, to raise issues that may result in alternatives, so that way over in 2021, when the draft EIS comes out, the Forest Service, like any other federal agency in an EIS, in an environmental impact statement, must present a range of alternatives. So if you put in comments just on this initial draft plan of the Forest Service, you're going to be starting all over again, in a sense, in the draft. I mean, you can, of course, and should put in your council thoughts, commission thoughts, but it's in 2021 that there's a draft EIS with a range of alternatives. And the importance of alternatives is that under NEPA, the alternatives have to be compared for their diverse environmental consequences. And interestingly, alternatives don't have to be just by the federal agency. They have to be reasonable, but the rules are a range of reasonable alternatives. So for the past 2 years, a number of conservation organizations, among them the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance that Kaya mentioned, and a number of others, have been developing a comprehensive alternative that addresses every single one of the 60 sections in the forest plan. So we have been talking with the Forest Service since before Kyle was on the team, when there was 2 teams ago. Since the very first public workshop, we've been saying we will be submitting an alternative, and it's a comprehensive alternative. It's not easy to build one. And what we've done is use the 2012 planning rule, which the Forest Service is operating under, and develop goals and desired conditions, objectives, standards, and guidelines, each of which has a different definition. So we have been careful to develop this alternative precisely within the 2012 planning rule. And over the, and the Forest Service alternative, their package is about 160 pages. So is our alternative. This is going to be an issue, of course, with the new quote rules of having page limits in an EIS. And of course, the new rules, which actually have very high bars for comments, that you're supposed to address the page, you're supposed to address the issue, you're supposed to address the economic impacts of your comment, and so on. There's so many new changes that the Trump administration put on the NEPA that those are being litigated and may change. And the last thing I wanted to say is what we would urge the conservation organizations, regardless of whether you like every objective or standard or guideline in our alternative, I would urge the commission to urge the Forest Service to include that alternative as is in the draft EIS, so that people across the nation, and remember, these are national public lands, not just local public lands, can weigh in on the pros and cons of all the different alternatives that will be presented in the draft EIS. If the conservation alternative doesn't appear in the draft EIS, then people can't weigh that vision of the forest plan against other alternatives, the other Forest Service alternatives. I doubt that there will be any other non-Forest Service comprehensive alternatives, but the Forest Service is required to have a range of alternatives. And often the agency itself develops several alternatives with different emphases, say on extraction versus conservation and so on. But I'm confident that our alternative is enough different than what the Manti-La Forest Plan and Manti-La Forest is putting forward, that it should appear in the draft EIS. Also, our conservation alternative will morph a little bit during this long pre-notice of scoping period and scoping period, so that by the end of the scoping period, in response to public suggestions, also comments from other conservation organizations, other public members, businesses, and so on, we will then submit a final conservation alternative at the end of the scoping period. And that's the alternative we will hope will be displayed in the draft EIS. And I don't know whether that's confusing, you have any questions. It is a protracted process. It's a legal process, but it's also a process about how our forest will be managed into the future. The current forest plan is 34 years old. Prior to discussions of climate change, prior to a lot of ecological considerations that have arisen with conservation science, prior to all the fires and so on. So it's a big deal for Manti-La to revise their plan. And I hope I didn't take too long.
Thank you. Thank you. We don't have many people on the call, so I wasn't as concerned about the time. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? Yes, Jay.
Hi, Mary. This is Jason Keith. I'm with Friends of Indian Creek and the Access Fund. We represent the local rock climbing community. Also represent the Outdoor Alliance, which represents a range of human-powered recreation, backcountry skiers, mountain bikers, and so forth. We sent some comments in, and we'll stay involved throughout the rest of the process. I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? Yes, Obi.
Yeah, I wanted to do a couple things. Thank Kyle very much for the extra time. I think part of the extra time involves the EIS process being a bit delayed, but it also involves us being in this pandemic, which means that people may have trouble communicating. The thing I want to emphasize is I would suggest that the council, before it makes any kind of formal statements or input into the plan, take their time. This is what I hope we do out in Castle Valley. There's still workshops to be had. I think 4 of those workshops are substantive. Things like wilderness. We should be able to learn from those. We've got plans to read. So the forest plan itself needs to be read carefully. I don't know what we're going to do about public input, but I can imagine if a organization such as a town or a county council is going to actually write a letter to the Forest Service, and we have the kind of time we do, 2.5 months, I guess, before January, at least 2 months starting in January, maybe there'll be a longer period. I would hope that we would put those letters kind of drafted saying, here's what the council's trying to do. Here's what we're going to comment on. What do people think? So that we can really get people behind the plan, know that we're representing folks. One other thing, the Moab geographical area that protects our watershed, it's kind of the last thing in the entire plan. Is very, very important. It prioritizes water over other uses. And I would hate to see us get behind some plan or some suggestions that would jeopardize that. So I'd be careful in what you eventually recommend. Thank you.
Thank you, Obi. Anyone else? Okay, I will open it up.
Hey, Mary.
Who?
Hey, Mary. This is Madeline Logowitz from Grand County Trails.
Yes, hi, Madeline.
I just wanted to let everyone know that our department and the Grand County Trail Mix Committee have not submitted comments yet. We just got the plan, and the committee doesn't meet until October 13th. And that committee has representatives from different types of non-motorized recreation. And so we want to get their feedback before we submit any comments.
Thank you. And as Kyle said, we're not under a time crunch. So that will work really well. Thank you. Anyone else? Marcy, did you have a comment? See, anyone?
No.
Anyone have a comment or consideration? Okay. I think we all, yes, I think we all expected more people to be involved. I thought we would see more departments from the county. So I would like to open up for discussion with our commission to determine how we want to move forward from here to develop our official comments. Do I have any suggestions or ideas as to how we would like to move forward? Yes.
Very quickly, this is Mallory. I just wanted to share, Mila wasn't able to join, but she is working on some feedback as well. And she definitely is willing and able to be a part of anything that the commission sets up for going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Mallory. Evan?
I was just going to say, you know, the feedback that we got about the timeline not being as tight as once thought. I think the idea of having a committee to respond and kind of taking that time to draft a well thought out one-shot response makes sense. I'm going to be fairly busy these next through these next couple months, but if we've got time, I'd be happy to work on that this winter and then see some of these things that come out from their workshops. So if people are interested in a subcommittee, I'd be willing to step onto that.
Evan, with your subcommittee, are you thinking a committee of just commission members, or are you thinking more of a broader committee that would include trail mix and motorized vehicles and maybe the road department, or just commission?
I was thinking just commission, and then the commission could solicit feedback from the different departments and that, so that we don't necessarily have to get 15 people at the table at once, but maybe we could say which sections of the plan are addressing the non-motorized, or maybe we even split it lower than that to like the equestrian stuff, to the bike stuff, to the foot travel. And I think if they're kind of splitting hairs between that and some of the motorized stuff, we don't necessarily need like the Moab area watershed partners in the room at the same time per se. I think that there's so many issues, between the grazing and the timber, the fire management, the water. Like, this is obviously a really big plan that will kind of be in place for a long time. And I think that trying to get all the people in the room at the same time just wouldn't be the best plan. So if we had a subcommittee, we could kind of solicit that input from different folks and try to compile that and I imagine it'll probably end up being a much longer thing than the few paragraphs that I was imagining a couple months ago.
I'm thinking to move forward, it might be if people who are willing and have to work on this, to take the plans and divide them into sections, and then have say Gabriel's on the watershed partnership and also Grand Water and Sewer. He might want to take the section. I'm just throwing that out. I'm not committing you, Gabriel, to take that section, maybe a couple other sections, because it's overwhelming to read and to dissect. It is for me. I don't know anybody else that has done it. So, but it would be less, daunting if we took sections and said, I will really take the first third of the document, I'll take the middle third or last third, or how we want to do it. I think that would be, I don't know, what are your thoughts? I see taking it in parts and having people report and talk about it, or should the people on the committee try to become masters at all, the entire plan?
I could see that working. I could see like somebody kind of, and even those committee meetings could kind of focus on like, all right, this next committee meeting is going to be focused on water, and maybe one of us kind of leads that presentation and solicits feedback, but then we're all kind of like at least somewhat familiar with the sections pertaining to watershed management. And we kind of have that as like, the November meeting, and then the December meeting is like the recreation meeting, and then the January meeting is the timber management meeting, or whatever it is, and that we kind of could chip away at them at that, and then have probably a meeting or two at the end to kind of compile all that, pull it all together. And maybe that's something that's kind of in step with presentations that the Forest Service will be making in their upcoming things. If they announce that the next meeting is going to focus on, item X, then maybe we kind of brush up on item X before then, so that we can participate in those discussions kind of as they're evolving.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. Then
Yes. So, instead of let me see if I understand, instead of breaking it up and each member of the committee study a section of the plan, that we decide that on the next meeting, these are the items we're going to discuss, and then the people on the committee will take it upon themselves to be educated on that section. Is that kind of what you're saying, Evan?
Yeah, and I think the parts that I've looked at, you know, looking at it from up high, I don't think they're super off the mark in many of them.
Mhm.
And so I think some of the sections will be easier and faster, and then some of these kind of heavy ones that there's a lot of interest in the community and that really, you know, resonate with a lot of the residents will take, you know, some more heavy lifting. So.
You're looking at that you're not going to have time to work on this until December. Is that what I heard?
Maybe kind of mid to late November, but then we're kind of starting to get into some of the holiday. It's just luckily my calendar is kind of filled out a lot with a lot of work lately, and so I'm hesitant to pile a little more on in these next few weeks.
And I think all of us are in that same boat. I know I have like 4 projects that I'm working on. I don't want to at this point add another project and then you get watered down. So I would be willing to work on this. Is there any other council member present to that day that would be willing to work on this? If we're starting after November, we could also find out from the 3 new council people who will be joining us, or 4 will be joining us at the beginning of the year, if one of those new members would be interested. And so, anyone
Yeah,
else?
hopefully I'm still here after November.
Oh, I think there's a write-in coming, huh, Evan? Write-in campaign. You had one of those last time.
I did.
Well, from what I'm seeing, it looks like I wanted to ask Kyle something. Are you still there, Kyle?
Yes, I am still here.
So does that timeline sound, are we putting ourselves into a corner if we take it slow like that and it sounds like if we do it this way and we have a meeting, maybe 2 meetings at max a month, probably only 1 in December for sure, 1 in November.
Mhm.
Will we be pushing up against a deadline, do you think?
No, I don't think so. And maybe I should clarify something. We will not be changing anything in these documents until official scoping period has ended. So people have been concerned, well, with this pre-scoping thing you're doing, are you going to be changing the documents? The answer is no.
Okay.
And I am hopeful that we can scope in January. A lot of people are telling me I'm hopefully optimistic, and I may be. We do, when official scoping does begin, as a forest, we will be doing more virtual engagements then as well. Probably similar to what we're doing now, where we'll focus on kind of topics and themes and things like that. But I really don't at this point. I know that at the very soonest, official scoping, I believe, would end at the end of February, but I don't see that really happening. My guess is more than likely sometime in March, potentially. So
we
And
will.
that's,
Go ahead,
sorry,
Evan.
if we did have a larger packet of comments, when would that be most useful for you to receive under that timeline?
just, yeah, anytime between now and the end of official scoping.
So that January, February?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, Evan, it looks like it's me and you and me to start this
right.
process, and hopefully we'll get somebody on board
after the election. That would be great. I don't want, I'm sure and Jaylyn is gone. She will be back, and there's always a possibility, and she reads with such integrity. That would be great to have her on the committee. If we end up having more than 3 members wanting to be on the committee, all we'd have to do is post our meetings. So that wouldn't be a big deal. So if, say, even if you're not part of the committee and you want to attend some of the meetings, just let us know so we know if we have to post it. Is there any other comments? This is a short workshop. Does anyone have anything else to say on this subject? Okay, I suggest that we close this workshop and reconvene at 4 o'clock. Mallory, would you like us to stay on the Zoom, or should we leave the Zoom and re-enter at 4?
I will keep it running. I'll stop streaming on YouTube and stop recording. So if anybody wants to stay on just out of ease of rejoining, feel free to do so and mute and turn off your camera. But otherwise, the link will be the same for folks that want to do something else and then rejoin the meeting at 4.
Okay, so we can either leave and rejoin, or just stay on and we'll be ready at 4.
Yep.
Okay. If
Thank
there's
you.
no further comments, I will adjourn this portion of the meeting, the workshop, and we will reconvene at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.